Hello and welcome to a special edition of PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale History, where today I will be taking a look at two characters on the roster, Cole McGrath and evil Cole McGrath. Okay, so Cole McGrath is actually one character split into two, but who is he?
Dropped out of college and got a job as a bike courier. Mostly just to piss off my parents. I was someone you'd never notice, just a guy delivering packages to folks you'd never know. And then one day, a package found me. Thousands died. 5 square blocks, smashed into rubble. And at the center was me. Alive, but changed. But no one could have seen what was coming.
Cole is the main character of Infamous and its first sequel. The games are about a man who gained superpowers and became a hero. Following an explosion that Cole was forced to initiate, Cole found that he could manipulate electricity. Over the course of the games, Cole could enhance these electrical abilities in ever more powerful ways. The Infamous games were sandbox games where you could explore a large urban area performing missions and utilising your powers. The first game had you wandering around Empire City, a stand-in for New York, and the second game saw you exploring New Marais. But why are there two Coles? Well, the Infamous games presented the player with a choice. Do you follow the Spider-Man mantra and use your powers responsibly for the benefit of the people, or do you abuse that power and use your powers to wreck stuff and rule with an iron fist? Depending on your actions in the games, you would either become a hero, or you would become infamous. This affected Cole's appearance and also the kinds of powers he had access to.
Hey man, you ain't gonna believe this one. You know those areas of the city you've been clearing out? They're crime-free now. People are hanging up posters with your face on them.
I'm doing what I can, Zeke. No one needs to throw me a parade.
I know, man, I know. But still, that's pretty damn cool. By the way, I didn't want to say anything before, but, you're starting to look different. Dark, twisted, that kind of thing. It's not good for your complexion, brother.
You know what? I really don't care what people think of me. I'll talk to you later.
Hero Cole was all about precision and non-lethal takedowns, acting as an assistant to the law and causing as little collateral damage as possible. Infamous Cole, however, was about destruction, with his powers typically causing mass destruction and often being lethal. Infamous was a popular duo of games, enough to generate an upcoming sequel on the PS4, and more importantly for this video, prompted Superbot to include him in the cast of PlayStation All-Stars, with two variations of him to represent the different moral choices and different powers that emerged from those choices. So let's take a look at where all those powers came from. But first, take a look at this intro. Throughout Infamous 2, Cole could power himself up and gain new abilities by absorbing things called blast cores, which are basically these weird purple stones which had like electrical energy in them, and Cole could absorb it and make him more powerful and everything. Well, yeah, it was weird. Whenever he absorbed these blast cores, the resulting surge caused him to like jump into the air and go all crazy. This strange pose of his became an intro for Good Cole. PlayStation All-Stars. None of the other intros have a specific an origin of that, so let's move on to the actual moves. Cole's primary ability in the Infamous games was the lightning bolt, where he would shoot lightning bolts from his hands. It was the first power you obtained in the first game, and it was a power that stuck with Cole for the rest of the two games. It was a simple ranged attack that shocked enemies and basically acted exactly how you would expect from a lightning bolt from the hands to work. While the bolts could typically be upgraded into a number of different variations, including triple bolts and streams, Cole's primary bolt was added to both versions of him in PlayStation All-Stars. While a very weak attack in general, reinforcing its all-round nature in the original game, shooting enough bolts can lead to a larger bolt that gives Cole a small charge of electricity and a stun effect on his opponent. It's not the most useful ability, but it's there, and it kind of has to be. While the first Infamous wasn't particularly heavy on the melee attack front, the sequel changed this and gave Cole a useful close-range weapon.
Here she is.
And you're sure it's ready?
I hope so. Give her a try. Oh, I'll be damned.
Wow.
Cool.
What is that thing?
I call it the amp.
Good work, Zeke.
Thanks, brother. Go have some fun.
This is gonna make a hell of an impression.
The amp was basically a miniature lightning rod turned into a club weapon, and Cole could channel his energy into it and do extra damage. While the amp was devastating on its own, the more you attacked with it, the more energy you could store up and do special finishing moves. Initially, this finishing move was just a blast of energy from the amp designed to take out your opponent, but this could be upgraded into more flashy finishing moves that not only took your opponent out, but also made you look cool doing them. The amp is the primary melee attack for both Coles in PlayStation All-Stars, with the basic combo representing the basic combo from the original game, and the amp explosion and blast moves representing the initial finishing move that you could perform. But those extra finishing moves, they weren't forgotten either. They all became throws for Cole, and no longer require building up a charge with other melee moves, which is pretty nice, I'm sure you'll agree. Somehow, in addition to giving Cole electro powers, the blast also gave him the ability to jump off high buildings without taking damage. Much of Infamous's gameplay revolved around leaping around on buildings due to Cole's love of urban exploration, but the lack of fall damage came in pretty handy in doing this. It also allowed Cole to rain down death from above, since attacking while falling led Cole to perform a move known as the Thunder Drop. Using this move, Cole built up an electric charge as he fell, releasing a blast when he hit the ground, creating a shockwave. Naturally, since it was charged, the higher you performed the move from, the more powerful it was. The Thunder Drop is also in Cole's PlayStation All-Stars moveset, where it is basically the same properties. Performing it on the ground just causes Cole to whack his opponent in a downward swipe, but performing it from high in the air causes a small shockwave that's more damaging. Pretty useful, I would say. Further adding to his urban exploration skills, Cole also gained the ability to grind on electric cables fairly on in the first Infamous. This was a very useful way of moving around Empire City, since it was faster than walking and allowed you to move between buildings that were too far apart to jump between. You could also grind along train lines, which made for an even faster way to get from point A to point B. It's just as long as you don't get hit by a train. The grind appears in PlayStation All-Stars and is mainly a move for closing distances between the Coles and their opponents. It can, however, be chained into a couple of attacks. The first attack, a jumping shoulder charge, is just an interpretation of Cole jumping out of a grind in the original game to make it an offensive move, but the other move is different. The Gigawatt Blades were a DLC item in the original Infamous. Initially available as a pre-order bonus, the blades were later added as limited paid DLC. Sadly, I never got a chance to purchase the Gigawatt Blades myself, and the bonus no longer appears to be available, hence the screenshot. From what I've heard, the Gigawatt Blades just gave Cole a more powerful melee attack than just his fists, and never carried over to the sequel due to the introduction of the amp. The blades make an appearance in both Cole's movesets in PlayStation All-Stars, where they simply exist to give Cole another melee move to combo out of the grind. Aside from the grind, Cole also gained another navigational ability towards the end of Infamous 2, the Lightning Tether, which allowed him to shoot a whip of electricity towards a surface, latch onto the surface, and pull himself over to that surface. It had no offensive capabilities and was simply a way of making navigating Numerae even easier. It's just a shame it came in so late in the game, really. The Lightning Tether is part of both Cole's movesets in PlayStation All-Stars, allowing them both to grapple onto walls and hang from them, or even to pull themselves close to opponents. This latter ability gives the move a functionality it didn't have in its original form, since the tether can stun airborne enemies and lead into combos. Another move which helped navigation but appeared a lot earlier in Infamous was the Static Thruster, which essentially allowed Cole to glide through the air using electromagnetism to hold himself up. Both Coles can perform the thruster move in PlayStation All-Stars as well, giving them a glide move similar to Ratchet and Sly. Back in the realm of offensive abilities, another of Cole's basic moves in Infamous was the Shockwave, a move that saw Cole send out a wave of electrical energy that could knock enemies back and also clear obstacles. In the second game, this move was replaced by the functionally similar Blasts, a series of moves that built on Shockwave by increasing the size of the wave and giving the move special abilities. The most basic of these was the Alpha Blast, which was basically the Shockwave in all but name. It was an ability open to Cole from the beginning of Infamous 2, and it's this move that good Cole gained in PlayStation All-Stars, giving him a knockback move that can open up combos for him. However, Evil Cole got something else. One later level ability for following the Infamous path was the Nightmare Blast, a move that enveloped its unfortunate victim in a spooky cloud of evil, paralysing them. This was translated for Evil Cole in PlayStation All-Stars as basically the same as good Cole's but red. It's not really how it's supposed to work, was it? Okay, for where the two actually differ, let's talk about grenades. Grenades were an ability Cole could obtain fairly early on in the first Infamous, allowing him to throw a ball of concentrated electrical energy that would explode after a certain period of time. Both games featured grenades and they worked largely the same. As you progress through the games, the move could be modified. One ability it gained was the ability to stick to enemies, even netting you XP bonuses called Sticky Bomb anytime you got a grenade attached to an opponent. It was useful, especially as it typically caused an enemy to stop attacking you while they ran around desperately trying to lose the grenade. It's this ability that Good Cole gained in PlayStation All-Stars, and it works pretty much the same. While throwing the grenade onto the floor results in it detonating after a time, causing damage to anyone caught in the explosion, it can also be stuck to opponents, forcing them to be caught in the explosion no matter where they are, which is pretty handy. However, the infamous path was less concerned with grenades timed to detonate respectfully, and the grenades in that room would typically explode on impact. Even better, they could be upgraded to split into multiple grenades. In the first game, this was simply the explosion sending small grenade shards out loosely near the original grenade. In the second game, this became a grenade whose explosion spawned a second grenade right above it, essentially doubling the explosions in the same space. Evil Cole in PlayStation All-Stars gets this second version, which explodes on impact and generates a second grenade just like the version in Infamous 2. It's typically easier to get results with this grenade since you don't have to deal with a pesky timer, but sadly you can't stick it to opponents, which is a shame. The explosions kept coming when Cole gained the ability to shoot rockets. In the first game you could get a move called the Megawatt Hammer, which basically allowed Cole to shoot rockets of concentrated electricity out of his hands. It was pretty cool. They got even cooler in the second game, which finally decided to start actually calling them rockets. Just like other abilities, they could be upgraded and modified into different forms as the game progressed, and the moral paths unlocked different variations. Following the hero path netted you the redirect rocket, fitting in with Hero Cole's focus on precision attacks. With this ability, you could fire off a rocket and then tag an enemy with a lightning bolt to cause the rocket to home in on whoever was tagged. It was a little tricky to get the hang of, but it was kind of useful when you could figure it out. And Good Cole gains this in PlayStation All-Stars as well, only now he can only fire it straight up, using the bolt to target opponents with it. It's also quite fiddly to use, but it's now even harder to just aim as a normal rocket, so it's better as an anti-air move. Following the infamous path, however, netted you a different rocket. Fitting in with the infamous focus on total destruction, the Tripwire rocket split into two rockets with a beam of electricity between them, allowing Cole to hit a wide arc of targets and causing more damage. This is Evil Cole's equivalent move in PlayStation All-Stars, which also fires straight up. This move is now purely anti-air and is actually pretty difficult to hit opponents with easily, which is a shame because the original move was actually pretty awesome. Okay, so far the two Coles haven't really differed much, but the major way they differed came in the second game via a special device that allowed Cole to switch powers with other conduits. I should probably explain, conduits were special people in the Infamous universe and Cole was one of them. Using a device known as the Ray Sphere, conduits could unlock their hidden powers and become superhuman. As well as Cole, other notable conduits included the villains of the games, as well as two of Cole's allies in the second game, Lucy Quo and Nyx. Special Agent Lucy Quo was an FBI agent sent to Empire City to speak with Cole about the events of the first game, and she led him to a scientist in New Marais who could enhance his power. Through the events of the game, it turned out that she too was a conduit, revealed through a painful process that unlocked her ice powers. Nyx, on the other hand, was a mysterious resident of the bayou of New Marais, living a tough life with a poor family. After her family were murdered by the villain of the game, she survived and gained the powers of oil and fire. At a later point in Infamous 2, Cole got the opportunity to exchange powers with one of them, and this is where things got interesting.
I'm gonna enjoy watching this thing burn.
How does it work?
Power it on, you strap yourself in and suffer while it rips your insides out.
Oh. Blast core. Ha. Strap me in. Yeah.
Well, wait a second. I thought we were gonna talk about this, Cole.
You want a new power? How about one of mine? How about I get one of yours, huh?
No!
Hey, you gotta admit, it makes sense to swap powers. The stronger we are as a team, the more we get done. Look at what we did today.
Bigger is better.
This is not...
Alright, hey. Nix and I'll swap powers, and then we'll destroy it. I promise.
No! No, if you're gonna swap powers with anyone, it needs to be me.
You pick her when we're through, man.
You pick her? I have no choice, Cole. I have to hunt you down like a criminal.
Following the good path would lead you to choose Quo as your power exchange partner.
Well, we make a good team.
Okay. I can do this. I can do this.
I'll be right here with you.
After all we've been through together, you're gonna pick that frigid bitch over me? Screw you!
1.
I was fine before we hooked up. I'm gonna be fine after.
2.
I hope you and that bitch make each other real happy.
3.
Oh, God!
Through this, Cole gained her powers, allowing him to manipulate ice in combination with his lightning. This unlocked various moves which we'll take a look at now. The first move was a variation of the rocket called the Freeze Rocket. Unsurprisingly, this was a rocket that froze enemies upon impact. It was an incredibly useful move and was worth having around. This move was translated faithfully over to PlayStation All-Stars, where it retains its ability to freeze whoever it hits, although Cole can't immediately shatter them like he can in the original game. It does, however, briefly stun his opponent, opening up combo opportunities. Good Cole also gained a new ability for getting around called the Ice Launch. As its name suggests, this spawned a pillar of ice to shoot from the ground, launching Cole into the air. It was pretty useful and was transferred into PlayStation All-Stars, only now the ice pillar can cause damage. An air variation where Cole spawns a block of ice to leap off in mid-air also causes damage for anyone unlucky enough to be underneath, but this did not appear in the infamous games. Another ice move was the Frost Shield, which was, as you might expect, a sheet of ice that Cole used as a shield. This shield absorbed bullets, allowing Cole to get in close and use his amp. This move did originally appear in the first Infamous, where it was named Polarity Wall, and the shield was made of electrical energy instead of ice. It served the same basic function, however, absorbing bullets for Cole. The Frost Shield is another move transferred to PlayStation All-Stars, where it's again basically the same. It protects Cole from projectile attacks and even transfers them into AP for him. The final ice move that Good Cole has is less clear to its origins. The Ice Barrier wasn't a move in Infamous 2, but it does seem similar to the Ice Grenade. As you might expect, that was another variation on the grenade that had a similar effect to the Freeze Rocket. Its explosion of jagged ice is very similar to what comes out when Cole throws out the Ice Barrier in PlayStation All-Stars, so I'm putting that down as a likely origin. But what if you choose Nyx?
It's about time we swap more than words.
Hell yeah.
You fools. You think this is gonna help? Look at what it did to me! I am a freak! Do you think I wanted this?
This is all kinds of kinky.
I had a life. I had a real life!
You ready for this?
Yeah.
Boy, the hell you two are about to create together.
Let's get it on.
Right.
Well, in that case you earned her fire powers. These were a little more varied since they seem to bring in elements of napalm and oil as well as fire itself. Basically, if you could burn a house with it, it was most likely in her moveset, and subsequently in Evil Cole's moveset when you exchange powers. First of all, there was naturally a fire-based rocket called the Hellfire Rocket, which sent a series of small rockets of flame out in an erratic arc, causing death and destruction to anyone in the way. This was included in PlayStation All-Stars, although Evil Cole uses them differently here. Instead of a wave of rockets, Evil Cole shoots small rockets upwards, which act more like a juggling move than anything else. It's a bit of a strange change. However, one move that remains unchanged is the Firebird Strike, which was Evil Cole's equivalent to the Ice Launch. However, instead of shooting Cole upwards, this move was highly charged dash forward, which gave Cole a brief boost but also caused damage to anyone who got in the way. The Firebird Strike was translated faithfully into PlayStation All-Stars, bearing pretty much no changes and giving Evil Cole the ability to rush his opponents. And then there are two moves with more vague origins. The first is the Oil Spike, Evil Cole's trap move in PlayStation All-Stars, which was originally a move actually used by Nyx, not Cole. When fighting alongside her, she could trap opponents in oil, allowing Cole the ability to perform a one-hit kill on those who were trapped. It was a pretty handy assist move. The closest Cole himself got to using this move was a move called the Spiker, which actually summoned small creatures from oil instead of trapping enemies. Evil Cole's final move is the Giga Punch, which is essentially a chargeable punch move. This move isn't an available ability in either of the Infamous games. The closest thing I could find to this was Cole's melee abilities in the first game, and possibly the finishing move that Cole performed on the final boss, although this was in a cutscene and not an actual in-game ability. So before we move on to the two Cole supers, let's take a quick recap, shall we? Very early on in Infamous 2, Cole gained an ability that had a number of uses throughout the game, the Kinetic Pulse. This move allowed Cole to pick up objects using electromagnetism and chuck them about. This included things as heavy as cars, so it was a pretty devastating ability, although sometimes it was a little tricky to aim. The Kinetic Pulse is the level 1 super for both Coles and PlayStation All-Stars, which is unusual because it was a very basic early game ability in Infamous. Similar to its original form, Cole can pick up an opponent and chuck them at a nearby wall. You can also take out other opponents if the opponent you pick up hit them, so it's a pretty cool super, although there's not really a lot to say about it.
Level 2! Man, you see that? There's a weird sort of glow on that guy. You do that?
No, but I feel it. It's ray field energy.
Throughout Infamous 2, you could pick up these energy balls from occasional downed enemies. This was ionic energy, which according to Wikipedia is essentially the energy that allows electricity to work. In Infamous terms, this meant special moves. Naturally, many of Cole's ionic moves became supers, the first of which was the Ionic Freeze. After trading powers with Quo, Cole found that he could use a special move that allowed him to freeze a wide area of effect, trapping anyone in the way in a block of ice. It was a pretty nice move. However, trading powers with Nyx gave Cole the Ionic Drain move, which allowed him to jump into a crowd and transfer their body's electrical energy into him, healing him and filling up his energy, as well as killing everyone in the radius. This was an even more useful move purely because of the healing ability. It was essentially a more powerful version of the Bio Leech, a move that had first appeared in the first game. That move also fully healed Cole at the expense of his opponent's life, but it can only be used on enemies who are already wounded in some way. Ionic Drain simply skipped the step of immobilizing them first. Both of these moves became the level 2 supers for Good and Evil Cole respectively. Good Cole's Ionic Freeze is a very powerful and very useful super that covers a wide area and can only really be dodged by jumping at the right time, while Evil Cole's is great when used in a crowd. The Ionic Drain will also drop AP, referencing the original move's ability to regain health.
Level 3!
Another Ionic ability in the second Infamous was the Ionic Storm. This was actually the first Ionic ability that Cole gained, but it basically allowed him to chuck tornadoes about. It was an awesome move since it allowed you to clear a whole area of enemies quickly and easily. So naturally, it's Good Cole's level 3 in PlayStation All-Stars. Unlike the original move, however, Cole doesn't just chuck the tornado out and leave it there, instead he controls it from a distance, allowing the storm to take over the whole stage. And then he finishes it off with a lightning bolt from the sky, but wait, that's not part of the original move, so where did that come from? Well, towards the end of Infamous 1, Cole gained his final ability in the game, and the greatest ability, the Lightning Storm. This was a devastating and destructive move that saw Cole calling down a powerful lightning storm which was death to anyone it touched. Best of all, it was controllable. Using the 6-axis, you could move the storm around to vacuum up anybody who tried to run. It was the best ability in the game, but it cost a lot of energy, and you didn't get much opportunity to use it because of how late it appeared. This was incorporated into the level 3, not just in the final lightning bolt from the sky, but also in Cole's ability to move the storm around, which seems to be a direct reference to the control you have over Lightning Storm. And it's awesome.
Level 3!
Please note that coverage of this final super contains spoilers for the Infamous series. Please watch the rest of the video at your own risk. At the end of Infamous 1, Kessler, the final boss, gave Cole a prophetic vision. In the vision, we see a creature known as the Beast destroying everything in its path. Turned out that Kessler was training Cole, readying him for the ultimate confrontation with this monster. And at the beginning of Infamous 2, the Beast appeared, just as Kessler said. The Beast was a gigantic humanoid monster thing that absorbed everything around it and was essentially indestructible. Throughout Infamous 2, the Beast travelled across the United States, destroying everything in its path, and yes, it was Cole's job to stop it. At least in the hero path. Cole eventually went toe to even bigger toe with the Beast, destroying it and ultimately sacrificing himself so that others may live. But not so much in the Infamous path. In an Infamous playthrough, Cole ended up becoming an ally of the Beast instead, joining forces with it on its mission to kill off the human race and leave behind only conduits like itself and Cole. And at the end of the game, the Beast ultimately transferred its power into Cole. The Beast was still stopped, only this time Cole had become the Beast instead. This is the inspiration for Evil Cole's level 3, where the Beast arrives and transfers his power to Cole again, just like at the end of Infamous 2. However, since you never actually played as Cole with the Beast's power, Superbot had to get creative. From what we saw of the Beast, we know that it was a destructive force. When you fought the Beast in Infamous 2, one of its main attacks was a huge fireball, which Evil Cole has been given in his level 3. The Column of Flame seems to be an extension of this power as well. Early in the game, the Beast pulled Cole off a ship so that it could grab him. At times when fighting it, the Beast would also pull out let this move again, forcing Cole up into the air. This seems to be the inspiration for the move in Cole's level 3, where he can pull opponents closer to him to make it easier to get kills using the deadly moves. And that's the Beast.
Shot, man! Get back to the boat! Gear's breaking up!
Nice work, Crash. That was impressive.
Come on, man, jump!
Feel the power. Missed. Hey man, I hate the militia too. The beast has arrived.
And that's Cole. Well, both Coles. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll be returning to the scene of the crime in the next video. Stay tuned.